Hello. Let's get a reading. So I was doing a reading for myself and some interesting things came out, and I just want to see if it's for the collective and for me or what. And if it is for the collective, I will do a review of what I pulled. So let's see what comes out. Okay, first, because something happened and I was like, oh shit, let me see what this was, and I started doing a reading for myself and all this stuff came out, and it was quite interesting actually. There's a shift happening with the dating game, I would say, where feminine energy is realizing or understanding her own value, and that is shifting the perspective of the masculine energy, I think. Where the masculine is shifting perspective to the feminine energy, because there's something that's happening, and I think it's a feminine stance of I understand my value and I'm not going to tolerate bullshit anymore. And like, if you're not coming at me with like this, like the real deal, you're not wasting my time. So, something about that. Let's see what comes out. The coyote. I vaguely remember what the coyote was about, but I think... And the curse. Oh, that's interesting. Number 12 and number 14. Let me see... Let me refresh my memory on the coyote, because that's something we got recently. The sacred trickster. It says, pay attention to detours of disappointments as they are truth tests of faith. Being led off course is actually being led on course. That type of energy. So yeah, and then the curse is about limitations and scarcity mindsets of dogma, forgiveness, honoring self and others' path, being aware of actions and karma, and the laws of the universe, like attracts like, also as above so below, also what goes around comes around. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, okay, that's kind of on the same. So, about the feminine and the masculine. The feminine is putting to pasture all the, I give to receive type shit. I don't understand my value, so I accept disrespect. Those are out the window. Those mindsets are out the window, because there's something deeper that's showing up, and it's innate value, it's honor, it's respect for self and other. It's also a deeper teaching of like tough love. The mother, the crone, the maiden. The maiden is the one that allows for disrespect because she doesn't know. There's like an ignorance there. But once she knows, she becomes mother, which mother has boundaries, mother has honor, respect, dignity. Things aren't pass and go without her okay, right? So we're no longer allowing, you know, the masculine to kind of walk all over as the maiden would. It's the growth into mother with boundaries, makes you sleep on the couch, you know. Mother with boundaries doesn't accept or tolerate bullshit, doesn't accept or tolerate the lack of protection for what's the good of the family, the all, the one, you know, that sort of thing. And the divine detour there is like the coyote energy, is that when we don't respect our boundaries, you know, there's a divine detour that's needed, right? The detour is that we aren't putting up with that anymore, and it's for a good cause, because like when this is funny because it keeps popping in my head. I had a conversation with, like, I picked up these guys. They were going to Twin Peaks, right? And they were talking about their wives, and like there was like it's a weird energy, right? The fact that they were going there, they had wives, at least 2 of them did, and then the fact that like I'm having to shuttle them to, you know, it's just anyway. But the guy said that, you know, men can be trained, and yet they were doing that, and it's just funny to me anyway. But the irony, men can be trained, is what he said, and it was an interesting thing. So like because we were talking about, he was talking about how they train dogs to like, you know, the bird shooting, like sport or whatever. He said they caught like 45 birds in one day hunting, you know, and because they went to this place that had like these dogs that like were so well trained, you know, they basically did the hunting for them. They found the birds where they were, signaled, one pounced on the bird's nest or whatever, and then they flew up, and that's when, you know, they did the shooting or whatever. And then, you know, and I don't promote violence in that way, but it was just the story of it and all that. Anyway, I was like, those are well-trained dogs. You can train a dog to do anything. He's like, yeah, you could train a man too. Oh my god. Anyway, it was funny, but at the same time, okay, that's kind of what I'm getting at with that coyote. So something may have come up, and in the male energy, like the male leads the way in relationships, right? Well, if he's not leading properly and is not taking charge and being the lead or taking the lead, there's a feminine, motherly type of archetype that should come out and say, okay, and I'm not saying should as in like, you know, I don't know how I'm saying that. So like a feminine who respects herself is going to put up a boundary and say that I won't tolerate this, and it's energetically, it's not verbally. Like, we're not saying this verbally, we're saying this energetically, by withdrawing, by keeping what's sacred, right? We're not giving in a way of like, okay, this is okay, so you can still have my body and, you know, my mind and I'm still gonna follow you type shit. No, energetically saying no. So we're pulling back that energy, because the curse is continuing to do the same thing, expecting something different. And the witness is behind that. The vision quest is behind that. And the earth keeper is behind that. And the blade is behind that. That's what I'm saying. The flow is behind that. And the sorcerer. And the journey. So what I'm saying is that this is the way of the feminine at this point in time and space. Basically, the vision quest is to put up the boundaries. I witnessed this behavior, and this is what's cursing our relationship, because we can't be open and free and have this this earth keeper energy, right? Where, you protect my feelings in this, so I have to cut this off because my feelings are valid. My feelings, with flow being behind that, my feelings are valuable. I am the sorcerer. I am the one who uses my intuition to guide in a way, like what moves forward, what doesn't on this journey, right? The luminous warrior. So in that aspect, I am willing and able to be the sorcerer who says no. No is a spell, right? It's a blade of truth that my feelings were, and this is could be for anything, you know what I mean? Like, so the woman is no longer accepting bullshit from the masculine, where her feelings are not being contained in a safe vessel, right, by the masculine. So like, if he's ghosting you, if he's, not communicating clearly, maybe he, dumps you for his friends for a week, and then you're left wondering what the fuck happened, and he comes back like nothing happened. That's fucked up. You have the right to have a container in this person. If you are pursuing this person or being pursued by this person, this is a container that you put in place by what you allow to continue. So we're saying we don't feel this is okay behavior, so we pull back our energy, not to punish, not to like act out in a way, but this is energetically saying, I don't put my value in people who, or I don't put value in people who don't value my sacred, time, space, emotions, things like that. What I do is I pull back my energy and I say, this is no longer where I invest my time, because emotionally it's not suitable. Or does that make sense? It's not a suitable space for my emotions. Does that make sense? So until this is and this is like been a curse for like the feminine and male enmeshment? I don't know. Because like the feminine has always been the one to have to give and over extend her emotional capacity in order to accommodate for the male's lack of, and also lack of respect, right, for her emotions. So there's something about that. Yes, 7 of Wands, boundaries are needed. So where we are being guided is to have boundaries with our emotions. It's also liberating the feminine to be able to stand up and say, I don't like this. I'm cutting it off. These are my boundaries. It's foresight also, because it says 3 of Wands, 10 of Pentacles, Chariot. Basically, an Ace of Wands. When I respect my boundaries are respected. I have to put up my own defenses when the masculine doesn't do that for me. And basically say, I will protect my own emotions, my own dignity, my own pride, in the way of being emotionally sovereign, where, like, you know, you can't play with my emotions. I'm not gonna let you, you know. Like, he may not understand or see it like that, in that way, but that's basically what we're saying. Because foresight says, I see the end of this, and if I allow this to continue, it's going to lead to where my emotions are not validated, my emotions are not honored or reciprocated, and I can't deal with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk away, and either he comes to an understanding of, like, you know, I needed to value this person's emotions in this particular instance in this way. If that doesn't happen, she leaves and finds somebody who would, because that's the legacy. That's, do you understand, like, what I'm saying? Like, in the beginning we set the tone, right? And then also when we set the tone of, like, honor my, it's a balance, right? It's the Chariot. Honor and respect shall come to you when you respect and honor yourself. So you have to show it to yourself first in order to gain that. So what we do is we walk away from things that aren't allowing us to have those basic human needs, right? That's what it's about. That's the legacy. That's the curse. That's the coyote here. Because when we have our boundaries, there's not somebody who can get away with not honoring our dignity, or respecting our sacredness, all of that. And vice versa, we have to also understand that we have to do that for other people. Like, we're not being rude by not, you know, I don't know. It's like still being cordial, but just not allowing that intimate space. Does that make sense? So we're giving the basics. Like, you say hello, you are polite, but you're not giving the extra, you know, and it is what it is. Like, if it never comes to be anything else, that's fine. It's just it is what it is. But we're honoring ourselves. So we have the 7 of Swords. It's how we're showing up. It's, I mean, it could be an escape, or it's kind of like being stealthy in this position, because I don't think we're lying to people. We got Page of Cups, Empress, Page of Pentacles, 6 of Cups. So Page of Cups, Page of Pentacles, and the Empress between that, what it is that the learning of emotional and tangible, like, resourcefulness in relationships. It's a message of, energetically, I'm not allowing you to play with my emotions. And energetically, I'm not going to allow, like, the past. It's a lesson learned. Yeah, the full 8 of Cups, 5 of Swords, 6 of Pentacles. So it's energetically understanding what you give your time and attention to, that's what you'll get. So if you continue, can you go lay down, please? Go lay down. Go lay down. Go lay down. Go boy. So energetically, if I'm giving my emotions to someone who doesn't honor my emotions and doesn't reciprocate energy and time and attention, and doesn't honor the fact that, you know, that I don't have a lot of time to waste on you know, unemotional or unavailable emotional people. Like, there's not unavailable emotional people, emotionally unavailable people, that's what I meant to say. The lack of comfort would be there in that relationship. So like, it's understanding that sometimes you have to maybe hide your emotions in some way. It's kind of like that, but it's not exactly that. It's really like an honoring of your emotions, because you're not allowing them to get trampled on like the maiden. Like when you're the mother, she might have emotions towards something, but she's not gonna tell her child. You know, it's that stoic emotional stability. So instead of, you know, understanding that instead understanding that you're an empress, and that the empress doesn't have to be validated by someone else. She validates her own emotions, and she understands that they're there for a reason. So let's say somebody didn't speak to you for a week, but came back and was like, you know, my friends were in town, I was kind of busy. Still, she's not gonna she's not gonna call you again. Like, if she's, you know, validating her own emotions, she's gonna say, okay, well, you didn't talk to me for a week, so nice knowing you, you know. And she's gonna move on. Because like there's validating her own emotions and being that container for herself in that way, where maybe in the past she would still continue to talk to that person, and then 2 weeks later his mom came into town and he stopped talking to her for a month. You know, we're not dealing with that, because, like, you know, so what's surfacing? It says knowledge of good and evil appeases divine anger and cures epilepsy. And the way I read that card is knowledge of good and evil, understanding the light and the dark sides of it, unconscious and conscious of it, foresight of it, you know, of seeing like, okay, if I allow this to happen, it's going to continue. And understanding also that, you know, he may not be a bad person, but this is not how I want to be treated going forward. And the appeases divine anger is, I see that as pleasing, you know, the future self. Also pleasing, you know, because you're not pouring your emotions into somebody who's not going to reciprocate, because their patterns are going to be the same. Consistency is mostly what we all have, right? Usually, like, that one time isn't going to just be that one time. It's going to continue if you'll let it. And just understanding that, you know, this is the way things will play out continuously if you allow this to play out now. You know, we teach people how we want to be treated, and that cures, appeases divine anger is like, we're not allowing that to continue, because that is what's going to make you angry. You know, that divine anger is like that higher self knowing if I let this continue, it's gonna, so we're nipping it in the bud. You know, like, if I let this continue, I'm gonna be very angry, I'm gonna be very resentful. So I'm not allowing that to happen. So appeasing in the first sign of it, like, yeah, maybe he would continue to call you, but, like, you know, if it happened once, it's probably gonna happen again, because he doesn't understand, like, the common decency of it at the beginning. You know, common decency would say, we don't, like, just let people not understand what's going on. Like, you would message them if you cared, you know, that sort of thing. Appeases divine anger. So I'm seeing the foresight of it, like, and then cures epilepsy, which would, in my mind, say spasms, right? So, like, when somebody spazzes out and, like, ghosts you for a week, that's what I mean by epilepsy. So the way I see it is, like, that bad behavior is that spasm, you know, that oh, I got scared, so I ran, you know, like, we're curing that and nipping that in the bud, because we're not going to deal with it. You know, it's like, I understand my value, so I'm not going to put up with, you know, these spasms. My brain works different, I'm sorry. It's kind of funny. Clarify, what's surfacing? That's the way I see that card. And there's a 6-6 on it. 66 is balance. You know, what goes around comes around type energy. 3 7s. You gotta be kidding me. We keep getting that. So 7 of Wands, 7 of Swords, and 7 of Cups here. So what's surfacing is options. So understanding that, you know, there are other fish in the sea, other options that are available, that you don't have to put up with, like, other people's lack of understanding or commitment, or, like, common decency even, you know, like, you're not waiting around for, you know, somebody to just treat you badly. There's a contemplative, it says contemplation here on this card. There's a contemplative knowing about it, because what we have to do is we have to understand that people's patterns and people's behaviors are typically a sign of, you know, where they're at mentally. So if we understand that, we can understand better, like, the behaviors that they're portraying. So if I understand that you're not going to have the common decency to call me and tell me, hey, my friends are in town, or hey, that's just an example, but, like, you know, I'm going to be unavailable this week. I'd like to schedule something after. If you don't do that, I don't see any point, you know, in wasting my fucking time on something that's not a sure thing, right? Like, you know, and nothing is ever really sure, but, like, at least try to make me feel like you cared. Or, I mean, you know, I don't know. So it's that contemplation and that foresight of, like, understanding that there are options that aren't like this one or whatever, and understanding your value. Queen of Pentacles. So 5 of Cups, High Priestess, 10 of Pentacles. Yeah, it's understanding and seeing the hidden in it. Also, when they realize your value, a lot of times they do get upset with themselves, because they may see you later on shining like a star, and they, you know, tend to get upset about what they lost. So, you know, let them see. Let them see your value, you know, that you value yourself enough to walk away from things, have boundaries, you know. Understand your options, understand your power and situation. Okay, what is surface? What is you need to expand on? Oh my god. What do we need to expand on? Two of Pentacles, balance. It says fortune and fame fulfills any request. God who supports the universe. Number 56. The Sun, Seven of Pentacles, Four of Cups, Six of Wands. Yeah, it's about how you're being seen, right? So I know this is weird. So there's an ego defense mechanism here that needs to be put in place by understanding how we're being seen in the situation. If you want to be seen as someone who values themselves, you have to reject things that don't honor your value. So it's basically discernment. Because with the lack of effort, there's a lack of value, right? Yeah. What actions do we need to take? So we're defending the balance in the situation. We have the Seven of Wands above the Two of Pentacles, which is defending balance. What actions do we take? Six of Cups, motivation. Lifts up those who are fallen and humiliated. Number 45, God who stirs all men. That's a funny one to put right there. Actions, in the actions to take. That's a funny one. Oh my god. God who stirs all men. The Knight of Pentacles. So that slow, methodical knight. Oh, that's funny. It says light of understanding acquires knowledge and cures illness. Oh, that's funny. A praiseworthy God. And it's another 6. And the world is behind that. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. 4 of Swords, 10 of Cups. Yeah. So the world is closing out cycles. The 4 of Swords is like finding peace. And the 10 of Cups is like, you know, fulfillment. Victory and peace. So it's hilarious. So in the past, maybe we weren't like this, but we learned, right? So God who stirs all men. So what I'm saying is bringing your energy back to your center, allowing for space between you and the masculine. And I'm saying masculine, it could be feminine, but what I'm saying is you coming back into your Empress energy, your feminine, divine feminine energy. It's basically saying, no, I'm putting up a boundary here. I didn't like this, and I am not going to tolerate it going forward because this is not what I accept as, partnership. So putting up that 7 of Wands energy. and pulling back to maintain balance. And it's even if it's just your own, but in the relationship, it maintains balance there because you're not allowing the BS. That's the actions to take. So it's God who stirs all men. That's hilarious. So what that automatically does is it puts the masculine in either it's kind of manipulative, but it's all in like a way of, correcting the behaviors that you accept. Like the masculine has a choice here. He could either pull back his own energy and go his separate ways, or he can try to focus and on you and make a change to the situation in some way. And in that way, you take the lead in the way of guiding, the masculine into a behavior that's acceptable or more acceptable to you, where he has to kind of take a look at it or just move on and stop wasting your time. Right? And if he feels guided to do that, then of course, that's the change, the stir in the men, right? And motivation. Okay. What's in our resources? King of Pentacles, yeah. That's mastering value. Queen of Swords. King of Pentacles. Queen of Swords. Nine of Cups, Three of Swords, Eight of Cups. Yeah, it's going after what you want. Eliminating things that aren't of your highest good. And walking away. Because there's plenty of other options out there. And, of course we feel sometimes that, we can't find better. Then you be alone. Then you be alone until what you feel on the inside is showing up on the outside. Because what you actually are saying when you say, there's not better out there, or there's a need for me not to be alone. Basically what you're saying is that you're not good enough on your own. So you would need to kind of adjust that and address that first. Because that lack shows up in that next person. Okay? Let's see what's happening with this. So clarify the Seven of Wands. The Spy Master, knowledge and distrust. Yeah. So it's you knowing your value and understanding that it's a lack of trust in the fact that, that's what you're guarding against. That lack of trust, because if somebody has basically discarded your emotions for a week because they went and, or their friends are in town and they can't call you, which I find ridiculous. But if that's, the scenario or something similar to that, it's like, no, I don't trust that, because I don't trust that it's not going to happen again and again and again. So it says the painter, productivity and creation. Also, viewpoints and control, the storyteller. So it's about controlling that controlling the narrative in the way of like, oh, my friends were in town, so that was my excuse, but what about the future? Like when, somebody else is in town or something else is going on, I can't trust you. And then it's the merchant self-worth trade. Yeah, it's like not trading your self-worth, because we understand the viewpoint of, if I allow this to continue, this is what's going to happen. And you kind of have to put your energetic footprint in that you're not allowing this to happen, knowing that that's going to be a continued behavior if you allow it to happen now, at the beginning, if it is the beginning, but it's in all relationships. You're basically saying, fuck that. So you may be putting your foot down. It's using it as a divine detour. The coyote energy. Clarify the Seven of Swords. The gambler. Loss and risks. The Seven of Swords. And the warrior. Perfection and burnout. Okay, so energetically, when you're giving to a person who's like this, where they don't have the capacity to understand your boundaries in that way of like, it's not just it has to be consistent. It can't be like in and out and just flaky like that. You understand that you're savoring and shielding against burnout, because energetically, what it's going to do, it's not necessarily perfectionism, but it's also knowing your value, understanding that the shadow side would be for perfectionism. Oh, you just want me to be perfect, and I'm not perfect, and blah blah blah. That would be the shadow side of it. Like maybe they see it like that, and if that is the case, that's unfortunate, but you have to move on, because they can't understand that, common decency is not to leave somebody hanging, and that you want more from, not perfectionism, but you do want, common decency to be at least in the picture, you know what I mean? Like it, yeah. We have the alchemist, the weaver, the witch. So what this is saying to me, the warrior, the alchemist, the weaver, the witch, that's how we're showing up. And also the gambler. So they either step up and understand and never do that again, or they don't. And they, that's a risk that you take. But also what you get from that is, even if they don't stick around, it's the knowing that you stood up for yourself, that you valued your emotional and energetic boundaries. You also understand that, other people who aren't inconsiderate would allow and understand what you're saying. And like, that's a normal thing. So, and this is just an example, but take it however, for whatever situation, energetically, we're all just playing cards with ourselves or each other, we're basically gambling in relationships every day, treating each other either correctly or incorrectly. It's a choice. And you have to understand who you can trust, who you can't trust, energetically and emotionally. And that's part of it. There's a balance that's maintained in good relationships. And that's on period, you know. Clarify the Seven of Cups. A crossroads, exploration. Yeah, the cartograph. Good. I'm sorry, I always read that wrong. Cartographer and the aspirant. Ambition, diligence, setbacks. So there's a crossroads here. This is what's surfacing. Aspirant. Ambition, diligence, setbacks. So this is considered a setback in some ways, but also if you're diligent in this work, it actually puts you in a better position in the long run with this person and with others as well, because you're putting up energetic boundaries saying, this is what I will and won't accept. Also, the number 66 is here. It's also on this card, the Seven of Swords. So it's an energetic balancing. So I'm also seeing the wheel here. And then, so karmic contracts, the wheel, the contract, bound in red ribbon here. And basically what that means to me is like, it's about stability in relationships. It's an agreement amongst two people. It's in any relationship. Do we have common decency? Do we respect each other's wishes and boundaries? That's the only way I'm going to have a relationship. That is a key to having a relationship. Also, I'm seeing, don't they call these compasses? These little tools here. It's called a compass. It's like a compass guide, right? Excuse me. Clarify the Two of Pentacles. Sorry, this is kind of a long one. The Pilgrim, opportunities, growth. The Two of Pentacles, yeah. It's a balancing of, that's what we're expanding on. And the Queen, determination, sacrifice. So the Queen, the Queen of Pentacles, Queen of Swords, the Queen. So it's both aspects, right? Knowing her value, but also knowing when to cut. Knowing to, when to be compassionate, when to nurture, but also, when to cut it off. When to, understand your value and make sure that boundaries are put in place. It's the wisdom that we get from, past relationships, past mistakes that we've understood. There's a sun energy here in the lantern guiding the way. So the masculine energy should be guiding the way in our own selves. That's why we put up the boundaries. The feminine, as we know, needs a container for her emotions. If she's not safe in the masculine's energy, because the masculine doesn't value her, there's got to be like a guide. So that's why the sun is in this lantern. So the sun in the lantern is guiding the way. That's what this is saying. And the pilgrim is the divine feminine's masculine energy showing the way. Because I, for myself, can contain my own emotions in my masculine side. So my masculine energy protects my feminine within me, so I set boundaries. I contain my emotions. I understand that, if another masculine can't do those things for me, I do it for myself, and I pull back my energy, and I keep my emotions contained, even for, somebody that I care about, something like that. And I lead with truth and the truth of my own emotions and how I didn't feel that they were being respected in this way because you didn't call me for a week or something like that. Clarify the Six of Cups. The Tailor, attention to detail and pride. Tailor. So I'm saying this is cutting the cord to any doubt, anything that's not moving towards the future in a way that's that's considered union, like attention to detail and pride. Okay. So we're paying attention to their pride as well. Are they prideful in a way of like they can't suck up their ego and apologize? That's not something we want in our life. So it also says the enchanter, deception and trickery. So the trickery would be accepting excuses. That's tricking ourselves into thinking that it's not going to happen again. If we believe that, and yeah, it could be just a one-time thing, but over time, you'll see if it happens again, if it's going to be, an ongoing thing. And, it's better to kind of nip it in the bud and kind of pull back your energy, address it in some way, either energetically or directly, and just basically, not allowing it to become a pattern in some way, Me, I just like to cut the cord. Just like, okay, that's good enough. Anyway, relationships, vulnerability, the poet, walker, unknown journey, and sleeper, cause and effect. Yeah, clarity. So, King of Pentacles. Clarify the King of Pentacles. Excuse me, y'all. Clarify the King of Pentacles. Okay, the Waker, the unknown, a journey. So you may be able to wake people up to see, kind of. And the Sleeper, the cause and effect, and clarity. And then Champion, the Champion, achievement and downfall. Clarifying the King of Pentacles. And it has my number 34. So this is what we have in our resources. The ability to understand the unknown. It says the walker, not the waker. The walker. So you're taking a journey. exploring like the new things that you've learned, energetic information about, these karmic contracts, things like that. You're understanding cause and effect. Like if I, then I, and then the champion achievement, like you've achieved, the truth of, you're energetically understanding the things that we accept, we continue to get, basically. I hope this is making sense. I'm kind of just rambling, but it's opening that third eye up and seeing like the error in the ways that we've kind of been blindly accepting things as like a collective, like feminine collective, like being, overly giving and allowing things to kind of be considered okay when it doesn't make us feel good about ourselves, and it doesn't make us feel good about the relationship. It's not, it's kind of been a curse. And understanding, that when we sit by as a witness and just allow those things to kind of go on, that's kind of what we always get. And the divine detour here is no longer accepting that behavior that doesn't make us feel good about ourselves and about our situation with somebody else, like in relationships. The walker. So in this also, it's basically saying, like honoring your value, whether like this person's going to stick around or not. They may not stick around, and that's the risk that you take. But they also took a risk in not honoring your emotions to begin with. So who's really taking the risk here? You're just kind of accepting it for what it is at face value. When people tell you who they are and how they are, believe them the first time, right? That's kind of the lesson that was given to me about 5 years ago. So I understand the lesson in that is to accept things at face value. You've given me this to go on, so I'm believing you. And cutting the ties and making sure that I understand my value and honor my value. And it's a cause and effect universe, so whatever their intention was, in the first place, kind of gets bounced back to them. Does that make sense? So, and also your intention of honoring yourself gets bounced back to them too. In a mirror. Anyways, I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.